The question is, what technologies are emerging now that may be empowering? And I think you really are seeing this around automation, computing, artificial intelligence, and robotics, as well as, again, kind of information technology more generally. And we've reached a point now where what we see as kind of traditional human operations are largely expanding, right? We can see that in the ways in which how we think about place and time are changing quite dramatically. So, I mean, if you look at the road we're on now, or the office we're in now, someone could use the internet to find a variety of different uses for it, right? Someone might say, oh, I think this is a great road for food, and I want to find the best restaurant. Others can say, I think this is a great place to find an office space, so I want to find the best office space. So you're already seeing the fact that things that were sometimes more stable are already providing themselves a means of being much more diverse in how they can be used. And there's a lot of empowerment around that because people are using technology in order to say, this is what I want to use the space for. This is what I want to use time for. And this is how I think I can do it. And it's interesting the fact that you're seeing smart technology go to kind of smart lives, right? Like we're able to track so much of what we do in both good and wild ways to say, am I using my time in the ways that maximizes its value to me? Am I using my space in ways that maximizes its value to me? I think, though, more broadly and more far-reaching is the fact that we're really at a time when I think technology is going to change things that we think are rather fundamental, and it may happen rather quickly. So economists and other experts have talked about something like the fourth industrial revolution, where automation is going to really make a lot of jobs, and not just kind of what we would consider monotonous jobs, but we're talking things like surgery, even things like law, even things like HR, like robotic automated process is a good example of this. That now we just assume have to be run by human expertise, much more in the field of robotics and artificial intelligence. So this then raises a range of questions. So I mean, you can see in the last 10 years, even after the financial crisis, the ways in which, for good and bad, there have been relatively seismic shifts because of downturns in employment and people feeling as if they've been left behind. What's going to happen in 20 years when you have broad sections of the society, many of whom often don't have strong solidarity with each other traditionally, find themselves in a similar situation in which they feel we're in a much more technological age, and yet I don't feel that much more empowered by it. And in fact, I feel increasingly disempowered. And this is going to ask us to then rethink a lot of the ways in which we understand what empowerment is, what we understand that power is, and what we understand prosperity is. So you're already seeing things like the universal basic income. But there's also real questions about, do we need to have a working society? Do we need to have situations where people are having to force to go to work? Is this the type of ways that even make sense anymore, economically or not? Are our traditional models of markets something that really are sustainable? Should we be starting to think about something a little more radical in terms of the ways in which people can use technology in order to find real meaning in their lives that aren't just connected to employment, for instance, particularly if they're not going to be needed in an employment paradigm that we now kind of take as sacred. I also think that there's going to be a strong way in which people are going to use things like non-human enhancement that can be quite empowering in ways that we now kind of think are kind of beyond comprehension. So I'll give an example. When we think of non-human enhancement, we oftentimes think of kind of quite transformational and dramatic things, and you see this in movies. But it can be something as simple as your glasses, right? I mean, this is a non-human enhancement, and when I wear them, I can see much better. Now, I think 300 years ago, that was something that was kind of like, oh, who wears glasses? Who gets to wear glasses? It seems to be an incredibly new technology, these kind of things. Now we're on the verge where we have a lot of things that I think we're going to be used, such as things like robotic appendages, so arms, legs, things that will help you think faster, things that will help you collate information faster. So there'll be a much more integrative relationship between kind of artificial intelligence, robotics, and human life. And how we navigate that, and the ways in which we navigate that, and the ways in which we begin a process of thinking about how that can be empowering, not just for humans, but also for these different types of consciousness, and bring ourselves together and say, how can we use these more effectively? So I think all those are ways in which technology is moving us towards a pathway of empowerment. But again, it's a dangerous pathway. It's a dangerous pathway because just like all technology, if we don't have our cultural and social values of empowerment right, then it can very quickly be used, either for, as you would see in a lot of, again, films, this completely dystopian direction, but on everyday ways of making people feel less empowered, more anxious, and having less agency in their lives.